Swiggins, and you are now tuned into Eye on Columbus. I have a very special guest. He's a philanthropist. He's a clothing designer. He's a motivational speaker. Brandon Todd. Brandon Todd, what's up?
What's up? Thanks for inviting me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
For sure. So, Brandon, I know that you have a clothing line. Mm-hmm. Your clothing line is named Mind. Mm-hmm. Why did you decide to name your clothing line Mind?
Well, I decided to name my clothing line the Mind Clothing because I think that, well, when I was in the brainstorming phase of creating the line, I always wanted something that would actually stand out and would have some type of inspirational message behind it. So all the pieces I create, to me, they're inspirational, and they all have a certain, inspiration behind them. Like it deemed from something, of course. And so I didn't want to just put something out there that was trendy or, I wanted it to last a lifetime. Like I was in it for the longevity. And so that's why I created the Mind Clothing.
Last year you were in an accident March 17th, and you lost your leg. Yes. Tell me about your experiencing overcoming losing your leg.
Okay, well, you're correct. It was March 17th of 2019, and I didn't lose my leg at first. After the extremely traumatic accident, I went into Grady Hospital, and I was there for about a week and a half before they decided there was nothing we could do to save your leg. Now, in my mind, I had said, I've been saved, I'm still here, they'll probably save my leg as well. And eventually they said, hey, we've talked with, plastic surgeons and, everyone on our team and other hospitals, and there's nothing we can do. We now have to amputate your leg. The only decision I had was below the knee or above the knee. And of course, because you're more mobile when you're below the knee, so I said below the knee. And following 3 days after they amputated it below the knee, I had an infection. So I guess the infection was from the road rashes because I didn't go to the burn unit immediately. So they, I probably had, maybe a little debris still left over in my skin, but it was infected after they amputated it. And so I went back into the OR, which is the operation room. And once I returned, I was, moving my leg, and I'm like, hold on, I don't feel a knee. And they told me, they came in, was like, all the doctors surrounded me and was like, hey, we had to go above your knee. You had been running a fever because you had an infection. And if we didn't act fast enough, that infection could have spread. So after following that, how I overcame it, I was already, prior to the accident, I was into meditation and, just, easing the mind and, being in that certain space in order to grow internally, because I think that's big, working from the inside out, and practicing that beforehand and throughout my situation, and having great family and friends to surround me during those times and have great conversations. I really just came to, the conclusion that as long as I'm still here, then so be it with the leg, I'm alive.
Right.
I got a life.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Brandon, you have an amazing story of triumph.
Yes.
So your clothing line is named Mind, and it seems like you have a really great mind. Would you say that being mentally strong is the reason you were able to find peace in having your leg amputated?
Yes, that is the main reason. And one thing I always told myself, to kind of reiterate this, I'd rather lose a leg than my life. As long as you have breath, you're capable of doing whatever it is that you aspire to do. So I wasn't going to let me losing a leg be an excuse for me to, be a failure at life. So I'm like, it's time to be better than before, basically.
Love it. So, Brandon, I know that you have a store that's coming to LaGrange,
yes,
and it's opening March 21st.
Yes. So that's in about 3 or 4 weeks, I do open my first brick and mortar. And when I was brainstorming the clothing brand, I always wanted to create a store but I didn't know when it would happen. I just manifested on it since I created the line, and I knew it would come along one day. And I just didn't want a typical story. I wanted an experience. So it's the mind experience. So it'll be the process of how I started the brand. I'll even have a notebook where you can go through and look at write-ups of the items that I create, like the description, like Brandon woke up at 5 a.m. in the morning. He thought about this situation. And it'll have that entire write-up, and you'll be able to read through that and like basically get inside my head. And it's gonna have nice displays. The first shirt is gonna be in the store. It's gonna be the mind experience. And to put the icing on the cake, I say the icing on the cake because this is one of the best toppings I could have ever thought about. I'm adding a mental health free group sessions every other Saturday because I think mental health is so important. And when people are in groups and they're surrounded by other individuals who are facing the same challenges, they're more likely to be involved or speak out about their situation.
Comfortable.
Right. And when I thought about it, I said, if the mind clothing is about positive mindset, positive mental state, affirmations, just all these great things, then why not put mental health into this, equation?
I think mental health is so important. It's very important to reach out to people that are young because there's a stigma behind getting help for mental health.
Right.
So
nothing is wrong with you. You know the saying, nothing is wrong with you. Oh, he okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes people aren't okay, and then once it's too late, people are like, hey, someone should have helped.
Yeah.
So I want to be a part of that, helping, beforehand.
Brandon, as a philanthropist, what all do you do?
Okay. Well, as a philanthropist, some of the things that I do is giving back, and that giving back varies from thing to thing. I've ordered like boxes of shirts and actually took them downtown to the Columbus shelter. I can't recall the name, but gave away, I think it's the women's shelter. I gave away maybe 50 shirts for free because it was, motivational or inspirational pieces or shirt, and it was something they could look at and be reminded of, how powerful their mind is. And some other, I've done some, I do speaking engagements often. I just had one on last week. I went to an elementary school, and I was actually the guest speaker for grades 3 through 5, and it was for their Black History Month program. So I spoke with them about, success and overcoming things, and, how I overcame, my obstacle, and, just gave them a little inspiration. And so.
Well, you seem very grounded, Brandon. So do you read any books to stay level-headed?
Yes. I am an avid reader, and I say avid because I have to read something every day, but I like the physical copy of a book. So I know we have this Kindle thing, and like a lot of people read online, but I like reading physical books. When I first started reading books, got into them heavy years and years ago, I was really big on the self-help books. And now I'm starting to branch out into, books about history and, about finances and real estate, just to expand the mind.
So you like tangible books?
Yes. I'm going to have a bookshelf in my house one day. So
what would you say your favorite book is?
Threw me for a loop right there. That's a lot of great books I've read. Which was one? Oh, Conversations with God has to be one of my top books. It's a 3-part book. It's Conversation with God, part 1, 2, and 3. I would say that series it was very eye-opening,
So how do you prepare before you speak in front of people?
Well, I think I've always been, just growing up, the center of attention. So being in front of people hasn't ever been an issue for me. So preparation to me is second nature. I don't really do the most I may do is vocal warm-ups, drinking a lot of water because I do love water, and just kind of sand things over in my head or on a piece of paper, and then I just go in and make it happen.
Since the accident, I know a lot of people may ask you questions about what happened.
Right.
How do you remain confident and so positive despite what happened?
I would say my environment. Like, because of my environment, like my near environment that I could like see, but also because of my environment that is maybe 30 minutes down the street or 45 minutes, just seeing these things, it helps me stay grounded, because to make a difference, you have to be that difference, literally. And so that's one of the things that keeps me pushing, even after, losing a leg and, having all these scars all over my body, and having to change my entire situation. Like, a lot of things I used to love to do, like run. I can't just get up and say, hey, let me run. I still have to perfect my walking. So really taught me that life is a marathon and not a sprint. You don't have to get everything instantaneously. It doesn't have to happen tomorrow. There's some next week things that will happen for you. There are some next year things that will happen. If you just stay grounded and aligned in what you're doing, you'll get the best.
Come together.
You'll get the best outcome. You'll get the best outcome.
Great. So, if we want to contact you, Brandon, how can we do so?
Well, if you wanted to contact me, I could just give you my personal email, and that email would be BrandonTodd16@yahoo.com. Again, that is BrandonTodd16@yahoo.com. I don't quite have a web address for you all to go to my page and booking info, but I will respond to that email. And if you wanted to contact me via my fashion line, you can do that at info@themindclothing.com. Again, that is info@themindclothing.com.
That's all the time we have for this edition of Eye on Columbus.